Just turn around and leave me. The tear in my eye drops on the floor alongside my speed. My knees are drenched in the blood I spill just to get here. When I look around me, everything I had went up in flames. My lonely way. When I look around me, everything I had went up in flames. My lonely way. I never pray to God anymore. I'd rather no one hurt me. Redemption, I have waited for you to come and drown all my sin. My knees are drenched in the blood I spill just to get here. When I look around me, everything I had went up in flames. I don't wanna fight anymore. Just turn around and leave me. The tear in my eye drops on the
Okay, how about we go ahead and get started?
alongside.
Oop. Camera. There we go. Okay, so we finished Red Harvest last time, and I was going to go ahead and read this short story, but it's only 7 pages. We'll see how long it takes me to get through it, and if it's pretty short, because I'm not the fastest reading, especially aloud. If I get through it pretty quick, then I'll go ahead and maybe quickly end the session and immediately start another one with another with the next thing in line, because I'm trying to keep them separate as I go along, so I don't want them all on the same thing. All right, so I'm gonna sit back, and this one is called The Final Trial. It's a short story from the developer blogs, written and posted 3/6 of 2015. So not that old, but way back in the timeline. So it comes out right after Red Harvest, which I think is still in the 3500 area before the Battle of Yavin, if I remember right. 3645 to be exact. So we're right around that same time period. And here we go. The Final Trial. Lana Benico woke with heavy lids, her mind and body brittle against the cold stone of Tulak Horde's tomb. How long had she slept? The strain in her limbs told her not long enough, but she feared it had been days. Hunger clawed at the lining of her stomach, but Lana shook it off. She needed to keep moving, keep searching. To stay here was to become just another lifeless relic of the tomb. Dark soil stained Lana's fingernails as she pushed herself to stand. The air was drafty, chapping her already raw lips. "You're awake," a hoarse voice stated. Lana had forgotten she wasn't alone. Benson knelt at the entrance of the alcove they had chosen as a resting spot, his red Sith pureblood skin easily recognizable. Kagan was curled next to him, still asleep, long dark hair hiding her face. They were all that remained of the initial group of acolytes. "Yes," Lana's own voice sounded foreign to her ears. "How is she?" "Stable." Benson pushed the hair from Kagan's forehead, revealing a deep gash across her otherwise charming features. "It will leave a scar." "No one survives the trials unmarked." Lana stared off into the shadows, remembering how the Kaelor slugs had overwhelmed them. Lana had tried to cut a path for the other acolytes, but they lost Gek and almost Kagan. Her arm still ached from slicing through the worm's sinuous bodies. If Harkun could see them now, Lana gritted her teeth, imagining the overseer's sardonic laugh. The man was a sadist. Lana had stood by as he weeded out the weak, telling herself that this was the way of things. She had remained silent as he insulted them, beat them, and forced them against each other. Why should she, daughter to one of Dromankasa's most celebrated entrepreneurs, care about a group of slaves? Because they were Sith, and they had understood everything Harkun had thrown at them. They had impressed her, and Lana wanted to see Harkun's face when he found out that they worked together to complete his final trial to find Tulak Horde's helm, a task he deemed impossible. Kagan stirred. Benson helped her to a sitting position. "Can you move?" She smiled. "I don't have a choice." Benson offered Kagan his shoulder, and the three left the alcove, Durasteel vibro sword in hand. Lana led them down a dark passage to what she hoped was the chamber containing Horde's armor. Once full of mystery, the ancient Sith's tomb had been nearly picked bare by robbers and the Academy, but there was still a few areas left unexplored. Lana had deciphered from the symbols etched into the stone walls that their destination should be ahead. Even the quietest footsteps disturbed the rocks loosened by the passage of time. Lana stifled a cough as dust invaded her nose and lungs, eyes narrowing to see the path. "We need light," Kagan whispered from behind. Lana hesitated. As they would not survive another attack. Sensing Lana's trepidation, Benson added, "The beasts will come with or without the light. Might as well see them approach." Lana relented, and pulling an illuminating crystal from her pack, the corridor was covered in rubble from a fallen column, but was otherwise clear. Kagan, her skin pale and clammy, winced as Benson and Lana helped her over the debris. Lana tried to keep a steady pulse. If they were to succeed, she needed to focus on the task at hand and channel her fear into more productive energy. When they reached the end of the hallway, Lana held the crystal high to see as much of the chamber as possible. She sighed. It was a ruin. Broken tablets lay scattered on the ground. Statues, damaged and forgotten, looked ready to crumble from the slightest touch. It would take hours to sift through, but if the helm was here, then it would all be worth it. "Kagan, rest a while. Benson and I will clear the largest pieces." Her fellow acolyte looked like she might protest, but Benson was already imploring her to sit. Lana closed her eyes and used the force to channel what little energy she possessed into moving one of the tablets off to the side. "You're certain it's here?" Benson asked, his breath heavy from concentration. "I'm not certain of anything," Lana replied, "but it's our only lead." They worked in silence, moving the rubble piece by piece until the room finally began to take shape. From what was left of the plaques, Lana deduced this chamber once housed some of the Horde's most valuable artifacts. The helm should be here. She just hoped it wasn't crushed under the fallen stones. As she lifted a carved torso off the ground, Lana felt Benson stiffen next to her and then scramble towards his vibro sword. "Stay back!" something shrieked behind her. Lana turned to see a Zabrak, dirty and shaking, holding a dagger to Kagan's neck. The blade was crudely made, but more than capable of killing Kagan in an instant. Benson stood his ground, hands trembling. The Zabrak's eyes, enormous and round, wavered between Lana and Benson. Dried blood was crusted around her mouth. "We mean you no harm," Lana said, holding up her hands. The lids around the Zabrak's dark eyes were thin, almost translucent. She stared at Lana, assessing the possible threat she posed. Kagan was panting, her fear palpable. "What's your name?" Lana's voice was soft and soothing. Unwashed skin knitted together as the Zabrak thought about her question. When she spoke, her tone was frustrated and scared. "Searching, searching, like little womp rats with twitchy noses. You touch and scrape what doesn't belong to you, what can never be yours. There's a price to hold these things, these treasures, one you have not paid. I was like you once." "You were an acolyte?" Benson asked. The Zabrak stared ahead, lost to a memory. "But then I paid the price. The blade lowered slightly from Kagan's neck. Kagan seized the moment and slammed her elbow into the Zabrak's nose. Black blood splattered across her face. Benson and Lana covered their ears as a high-pitched scream filled the chamber. Rocks and fragments of old statues flew into the air as dust rained down upon them. "Kagan!" Benson held out his hand, grabbing hold of the girl as she crawled away from the Zabrak, writhing in pain. Lana lunged for her vibro sword. Gripping the hilt, she moved to stand over the crumpled, wailing figure. Gray hands with jagged fingernails flailed, trying to stop the pain and bleeding. Lana swallowed. The Zabrak smelled like rancid meat. As she raised her sword to strike, Lana felt the unfamiliar sting of pity. She deduced from the rags and what remained of old training boots that the Zabrak had once been like them, a fellow acolyte thrust into the tombs. Lana lowered her weapon and whispered, "Peace is a lie. There is only passion." The Zabrak's eyes widened, the pain forgotten. "Through passion I gained strength." "Through strength I gained power," Benson's deep voice echoed in the chamber. Kagan looked up at him and then back towards Lana and Zabrak. "Through power I gained victory." Together all four acolytes finished the code. "Through victory my chains are broken. The force shall set me free." The silence was as tense and fragile as the decaying walls around them. Lana stepped back and turned from the Zabrak. "Go." She clambered away, clutching the dagger to her chest. Benson walked to Lana's side, watching the Zabrak scurry into the darkness. Was that wise? "Probably not," Lana admitted, "but she's one of us." Benson's jaw muscles tightened. "I'll keep watch. Find the helm." Lana returned to work, clearing the debris from the chamber. When her mind became too tired to focus, she rolled the rocks away until her palms were numb and her joints throbbed. Time had no place in the Valley of the Dark Lords. It was consumed just like her energy and ambition without regard. Lana was just about to collapse when she saw it sitting in the corner, Tulak Horde's helm. Her feet carried her to it, a sigh leaving her parched lips. I found it." Benson lifted his head, but Kagan remained still. "What?" Lana closed her eyes, relief flooding her senses as she touched the smooth metal surface of the helm. With quivering fingers, she lifted it off the floor and brought it over to the other acolytes. "It's here." Benson cautiously traced the grooves and crevices of the helm. An uncharacteristic smile formed on his face. "Look, Kagan." She struggled to open her eyes, but Benson lifted her arm so that she could feel their triumph. "We can go home." "We can go home?" That was a question. "We can go home," Lana stated. Eager to reach the surface, they agreed to begin the journey without delay. Benson shouldered Kagan's weight while Lana led the group, one arm protectively holding their prize. She tried not to think about the Kalor slugs or the dangerously pale color of Kagan's skin. They would make it. She had to believe that. They passed the alcove and took another tunnel in an attempt to avoid the nests. Hearing their ragged breath, Lana peered at Benson and Kagan from over her shoulder. He was fully carrying her now. The wound on Kagan's forehead was slick and sweet-smelling. Should we keep going? Benson barked. There was nothing they could do for her here. The second Lana turned, a skeletal body charged from the shadows. She fell back, a sharp pain in her forearm. Bony legs stumbled across her. Lana's eyes widened as she watched a familiar dagger bury into Kagan's chest. Her friend's pale lips opened to gasp one last breath before falling limp in Benson's arms. The Sith stared down at the growing pool of blood. The Zabrak wrenched the dagger free and sliced back towards Lana. The price, she howled, reaching towards Horde's helm. Without hesitation, Lana rolled away and brought her vibro sword down against the Zabrak's neck. It connected with a sickening crunch. The emaciated body dropped to the floor, unmoving. Benson fell to his knees. Kagan's blood stained his armor. Her eyes, half open, looked past him. Lana could feel the rage pierce through his shock. He clenched Kagan's shoulders and shut his eyes. She prepared for his attack, but it never came. Lana sensed his anger dissipate as quickly as it had spiked. Benson held Kagan's body close to his chest, pushing himself to stand. Let's go. Benson, When we entered the tomb, you said we could only succeed if we worked together. You were right. We found the helm. Two red fingers closed Kagan's eyes. We're leaving this place together. Lana nodded. She spared one last glance for the Zabrak at her feet and then continued toward the surface. That was it. That was the whole thing. So, how long have I been going? Not very long. 17 minutes. So, I am going to go ahead and end the session so I can jump straight back into another one with the other thing. Like I said earlier, I like to keep the different books and stories separate. So I will be right back in just a couple minutes. Let me just end, and I'll be right back. I'll do the ending screen here for a minute. Stick around, please. I will be right back. Promise.
Calling to say I